it's a pleasure to now give the floor Daniel Cios from the Director General to Grow. He'll be giving as well some overview of ERAMIN in the context of critical raw materials action plan. So hopefully, Daniel, you should now have control and the ability to share your screen. I think we can also hear you.
Yes. Yes, just one moment. I get the presentation. Can you see it full screen?
We can see it perfectly and we can hear you just as well.
Thank you very much, George.
Good
afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me for this meeting and actually for organizing it. I can only share the positive opinion that Jonas mentioned on ERAMIN and the experience we have so far in the Commission with the ERAMIN network and the project. And we think indeed that is a very good tool for raw materials projects and for contribution to our raw materials policy. Jonas made a presentation on the Horizon 2020 perspective on ERAMIN. I will give you a perspective from the raw materials policy dimension, especially on the recent action plan on critical raw materials, which was adopted last September. So basically, last autumn we have been very active in the raw materials field. We published several documents related to raw materials. The most important was the critical raw materials communication, which presented the list of critical raw materials. 30 raw materials are now listed as critical, including lithium. We also prepared a foresight study on the raw materials that are needed for strategic technologies and sectors. It's a foresight study, and based on it, we can clearly see that the demand for raw materials will only continue to grow. It will not decrease, which only confirms the need for policy on raw materials and also significant funding on research and innovation projects. I will here speak, well, in the communication, we decided not only to have the list of critical raw materials, but we actually prepared 10 actions on what the Commission plans to do with the situation on the raw materials markets and policy, and we came up with a 10-point action plan. It covers many activities that the Commission, member states, and also other stakeholders can take to change the situation in raw materials. For example, we launched the Raw Materials Alliance last September to identify and develop promising projects on raw materials. We are looking on sustainable financing criteria. We are mapping potential of supply of secondary critical raw materials from EU stocks and waste. We are identifying investment needs, developing expertise and skills in mining. We are looking at deployment of Earth observation programs for exploration operation. Oh, sorry, I just lost the slide.
We can see it. Oh, we've lost it as well now.
Okay, I lost. Can you see it now?
Now it's back again, yes.
Okay, sorry for that. So yeah, Earth observation, promoting responsible mining practices for critical raw materials, and finally research and innovation. From these 10 actions, we have 2 actions actually that contribute directly to research and innovation. The third action here on the slide is also an action that contributes or is relevant for the ERAMIN network. So here on the slide, you can see what we consider important from the perspective of the ERAMIN. So we have three actions that we encourage the ERAMIN network and the applicants to familiarize with and try to contribute to these 3 points. The first one is developing research and innovation on waste processing, advanced materials, and I have some problem with the slides. I cannot see the full slides, so I don't know. I cannot see.
You're currently.
I cannot see the full slide.
You can see you're currently in the CRM action plan where you show points 3, 8, and 9 in large.
But I just see half of my slides, so I cannot see more what is on the right side of the slide. So if I miss something what is on the description, I apologize for that. So the first point is research and innovation on waste processing, advanced materials, and I believe the third point there is on substitution. I cannot see that on my slide because it's hidden. So this action is important because we see that many valuable raw materials are just ending up as landfills, yes, and we see a need of developing research and innovation actions that would still enable these raw materials to be used in the economy and in different processes. So this is one point which is definitely needed, so we don't end up with landfills and waste from mining and processing activities. And also substitution is a very important aspect because we really think that critical raw materials can be, in some extent, substituted with other less critical raw materials. This is an area which has a lot of possibilities for improvement. That's why we put it here as one of the important parts of activities. Then we have the eighth action, developing R&I projects on exploitation and processing of critical raw materials. As we have identified together with the member states, there's a huge potential for raw material sourcing of primary raw materials in Europe. However, in many cases, we are still lacking the appropriate technology for some deposits, or we are missing, for example, less environment, or we are missing more environmentally friendly technologies for extracting of the raw materials and then further processing and refining it. So there's a huge potential here in this area, especially that the Commission policy, and it also goes together hand in hand with Horizon Europe, which is going to be launched soon, is that all the research should be contributing to the green and digital transition. This means that the research projects will need to address the needs from that green and digital transition. So for example, we will be focusing on making the industry more green, less reducing their environmental footprint, making the processes of production more environmentally friendly, reducing the emissions, and at the same time digitalizing the industry. And for example, including remote sensing or automation in the processes, for example, in the raw materials sector. So there's a huge potential here in the raw materials sector that we will also encourage stakeholders to look at. Finally, the third action is developing strategic international partnerships to secure critical raw materials, and we see a huge potential in cooperation with resource-rich countries. We want to develop partnerships that are sustainable and responsible. And as you have seen already in presentations made by Dina and by Jonas, ERAMIN already performs, goes into partnerships with some of the countries already, and we are very happy with that, and we encourage further cooperation with these countries and inviting new partners as well. This is one of the actions that the Commission would be undertaking. We are already discussing, well, since few years already, with the trilateral US, EU, Japan. We are discussing with the Canadians, with Chile, and also our neighboring countries like Ukraine, Serbia. So we are looking in various directions closer to Europe and also in other continents. And we also encourage this for ERAMIN. I would like to finish mentioning that ERAMIN 3 comes in a very good moment, because we are, well, the Horizon 2020 is finishing. Yeah, there will be no more calls published for Horizon 2020. So ERAMIN comes from the last year of calls for proposals under Horizon 2020, and we are very happy to see it operating at least in the first years of Horizon Europe. So there will be still continuation of the ERAMIN activities for the next few years, and we are very happy to see that happening. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.